Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. So today's our book review is on Eat the Frog by Brian Tracy. Eat the Frog is a productivity method developed by a Brian Tracy and described in his book Eat the Frog: 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastination and Get More Done in Less Time. Both the book and the method get their name from a quote usually attributed by Mark Twain. Eat a live frog first thing in the morning and nothing worse will happen to you in the rest of the day. Applied to work, Tracy says that your frog is the most important and the most impactful task you have to complete. If you eat the frog, that is, work on it first thing every morning, you will be more productive and successful, and you will reach your goal more quickly. And while eating frog is best known for the namesake advice, the best book itself contains 21 different principles people can follow to boost their productivity. So here are the 21 principles that can be written in this book. The first of it is define your goal and write them down. Tracy says that the lack of clarity is one of the biggest cause of waste and procrastination. If you don't know exactly what your goals are, what you are striving to achieve, it's unlikely that you will be able to identify and prioritize the specific tasks you need to work on to achieve those goals. Consider what you want to achieve personally or work with boss to define your major work goal. Then write your goal down so that you can refer back to them frequently. A goal or an objective that is not written, merely a wish or a fantasy. Tracy says unwritten goals lead to a confusion, mind mistakes, and numerous mistakes others. Once you have documented your goals, set a deadline for when you want to achieve them. Break them down into every task that you need to done in order for you to achieve those goals, and resolve to work on one goal task every single day. Second, create a plan for what you are work on. Tracy says that the first step in a proper planning is having a list of tasks you need to complete. He recommended keeping multiple lists: a master list of all your tasks, a monthly list of tasks you want to complete them on that month, a weekly list of tasks you want to complete on that week, a daily list of tasks you want to complete that day. Each subsequent list pull from your master list. You plan your monthly list at the end of each month, your weekly list at the end of each week, and your daily list at the end of each day. By planning your task for the next day at the end of the previous work day, you will know exactly what your frog is for and achieve at work in the morning, and can get started on it immediately. Third, focus on your 20% task. The Pareto principle states that you tend to get 80% of your result from 20% of your work. Tracy says that focusing on your frog, ensuring that you are always prioritize the 20% tasks that are most important. That's the big reason why you need to define your goals, break them down into tasks, and work on one goal task every day. When you don't, you end up spending all of your time on 80% tasks, small, low valuable tasks that fail to get you closer to meeting your goals. A big part of making sure you're always working on 20% tasks is prioritize. Your master list of tasks will ever change, so take time to prioritize to make sure you know which task will provide the most value. Fourth, think long term to make better short term decisions. Another prioritized method that Tracy recommended is to ask what are the potential consequences of doing or not doing this task. It's easy to think that you need to complete everything on your to-do list, But the reality is that some things simply don't need to be done. Other things are better delegated to others. If you question the consequences of not doing a to-do before you started on it's not only make it easier to find your frogs, but it's also make it easier find time-wasting tasks that are better deleting from your list and delegate to something else. Fourth, procrastinate on purposes. Everyone procrastinated. Tracy writes, the difference between high performance and the low performance is largely determined by what they choose to procrastinate on. Procrastination is usually considered a bad thing, but the reason it has a negative connotation is that we typically procrastinate on our frogs. Our frogs are often big, difficult tasks, so they are easy to put off. Low value tasks, on the other hand, can often be completed quickly, so they are easier to knock out and mark off of our list. Instead of procrastinating, when it came to your frog, Tracy recommends procrastination initially on your 80% task. For example, an old boss of mine once mentioned that he ignored email from people asking questions they could easily get the answer to themselves. He would only reply it those people sent a follow-up email, but most of the time when he did not reply, people would find the answer themselves, eliminating one thing from his to-do list. Sixth, uses of ABCDE method. Another prioritized method Tracy recommends in ABCDE method. A for taste are things you must do. B, tasks are things you should do. Tasks are things you should do really to email attending meetings and often should do tasks. C, tasks are the nice to do. D, tasks are the things you should delegate to someone else, so you have more time for task A. And the E is for tasks are things you should eliminate. Tracy says you should evaluate your task list using this method frequently. As the time passes, priority often changes, and you want to make sure that your priorities reflect those changes. Seventh, understand exactly what work you are accountable for. Work is one of the hardest places to focus on your frog because there are millions of ways to get pulled into other activities. There are emails and IMS to answer, meetings to attend, and side projects to pick up. And if you work in an office, plenty of in-people distraction. To prevent these things from glaring you, you need to understand what Tracy call you key result area. What were you hired to do? What result are you supposed to deliver? By understanding what you are truly accountable for, you can justify delegating and deleting tasks that aren't related to your job specific tasks and goals. 8. What is time to work for? Tracy says that the best way to achieve work-life balance is to work the whole time you are at work. Every minute you spend at the work on productivity killing activity like chatting with co-workers about your favorite TV shows and scrolling through social medias, negativity impacts your time away from work, either because you have to work overtime or because you are stressing over unfinished tasks. 9th, prepare for your work before you start on it. Part of a preparation for your work is the advance planning your frog for the next day at the end of the previous work day and blocking of time to work on that frog so you can tackle it interpret free. But another part of it's making sure that you have all the things you need to do your work and comfortable workspace to do it in. 10th, focus on one task at a time. When you plan your goals, you also broke those goals down into a multiple tasks. That's an important part of reaching your goal because The larger and the more overwhelming a task feel, the more likely you will be procrastinating doing it. But once you have your goal broken down into tasks, you have to work on those tasks one at a time. 11. Develop your skills. A major reason for delaying and procrastination is a feeling of inadequacy, lack of confidence, or ability in a key area of a task. Tracy says if you are suffering from imposter syndrome or feel unequally to tackle the task you need to complete to meet your goals, we will lean into procrastination. 12th, use your strengths. Tracy says that we each have unique skills we can employ that let us eat specific frogs faster and better than others. To meet your goals more quickly, identify your strengths and center your goals around those strengths. According to Tracy, doing what you are good at and what you love to do can specify increase your earning ability. 13. Identify the things that are holding you back. Once you are defined your goals, ask yourself why you haven't achieved these goals yet. Sometimes the answer to the question will be an external factor. You can't meet your goals of writing 5 blogs posts a week because your calendar looks like a game of checkers. Your first priority then is to eliminate that constraint so you can devote more time to your frog. But Tracy says that more often than not, our constraints are internal. We procrastinate because of imposter syndrome, or we fill our time with low value tasks and distractions. If you can identify those constraints and eliminate them, you will progress toward goal much more quickly. 14. Find your motivation. It's easy to get started on and complete a task that your boss has assigned to you with a deadline. It's harder to get started on and complete a task just because you want to, even if you know the outcome of completing the task will be positive. Tracy says that you need to find a way to motivate yourself to eat your frog by putting the same pressure on yourself that you feel when you are assigning a task and deadline by your boss. Create your own deadline. Try to beat that deadline and you have set and hold yourself to high expectations. 15th, make the most of your energy level. Tracy says that another way to be your most productive in to guard and nurture your energy level, work too long hours, failing to get enough sleep, eating unhealthy foods, and forgiving exercise. Always we deplete our energy reserve, and as a result our productivity suffers. We all have an internal clock or chronotype that impact our energy level. Throughout the day, if you work with your chronotype, you are more productive. If you work against it, you are less productive. If you take time to find your chronotype, you can use it in your advantage to eat your frog at the point in the day when you are most likely to be energized and focused. 16th, become an optimistic. Another way to motivate yourself to eat your frog and meet your goals in the control your thoughts. Instead of letting negative slip in, and Tracy says you must refuse to let the unavoidable difficulties and setbacks of daily life affect your mood and emotions. If your personality tends to more towards pessimistic than optimistic, you may be rolling your eyes at the principle. In that case, it's helped to think of it less as being cheerleaders and seeing the good in every situation, and more as overcoming the negative thoughts and prevent you from the moving forward. 17th, don't let technology distract you. Technology is designed to make you more productive, but if you use it incorrectly, it has the opposite effect. If it feels like you are spending your day throughout emails, instant message and phone notifications instead of accomplishing important tasks, it's time to reset and rethink how you are using technology. 18th, break your tasks down to their smallest possible components. After you define your goals and you broke those goals down into an actionable task, but Tracy recommends taking it a step further and breaking your task down into a smallest possible components. The smallest the task, the easier it will be start and complete, because you will be less overwhelming by the idea of jumping into the task. 19. Schedule time on your calendar for eating your frog. To make progress on your frog, you need a large block of time to focus on them. But finding large block of time to focus on tasks requires a dedicated effort. You can't leave it to a chance and hope no one schedule a meeting in that time slot. You had hoped to dedicate to work on your goal task. Instead, Tracy recommends scheduling time for focusing work. Schedule time on your calendar at the end of every work day for working on your frog the next morning. Or create a recurring meeting for the first 2 hours or whatever amount of time it's appropriate of every day to make sure you always have time blocked for goal tasks. Second last, the 20, find your flow. Flow is a optimal productivity states where you are fully immersed in and focused on a task at hand. So much so that you barely notice the passing of time while in flow. Tracy says you feel elected and clear. Everything you do seems effortless and accurate. You feel happy and energized. And while flow can feel like something that just happened, there are ways to trigger your flow states. Tracy says creating a sense of urgency helps and thus building up momentum. The more tasks you complete that move you closer to your goals, the more momentum you will build. Often, the simple act of continuing to make progress toward your goals makes it easier to trigger your flow state when working on goal tasks. Last, 21. Work on task until it completed. After you start working on a frog, continue working on it until it's completed. When you stop working on a task to focus on something else, it increases the amount of time it will take you to complete your original task. So, once you have selected a task and have started working on it, work on it until you can take it off of your to-do list. To do this effectively, you will need to make sure you have tasks that is small enough to complete in one sitting. You will need to make sure you have time blocked to work on your task, and finally you will need to make sure you have correctly estimated the time it will take you completed the task. So this is the summary of the book called Eat the Frog by Brian Tracy. I hope you like this summary, and if you really like this video and our contribution, then don't forget to like, subscribe and share. And as I always, thanks for watching.